Hello, my name's Andrew Woodgate. I'm one of the LGV trainers here at Transplant Mastertrain. Today we will be talking about the Module 4 demonstration test.
The Driver Module 4 CPC test consists of 5 questions. Question 1, the ability to load the vehicle with due regard for safety rules and proper use. Question 2, the security of your vehicle and contents. Question 3, ability to prevent criminality and trafficking in illegal immigrants. Question 4, the ability to assess emergency situations. And question 5, the ability to prevent physical risk. Question 1, ability to load the vehicle with due regard for safety rules and proper vehicle use. Before moving any large vehicle, you should familiarise yourself with the vehicle's weight limits, know how to distribute the load, and to ensure you have secured it with the most appropriate restraining device to maintain vehicle stability. You should be able to identify if the vehicle is overloaded, as a laden vehicle will handle differently to an unladen one. In extreme weather conditions, diesel engines can be affected. You will need to show your awareness of this and identify precautions and checks that should be made by drivers.
When loading a vehicle, one of the first things that we need to understand is its capabilities. And we do that using one of these, the vehicle identification plate. Normally, it's situated in a frame just in the footwell here. It's got a lot of important information with regards to the load that can be put on the vehicle. So it identifies the vehicle itself and it's got its chassis number. We look down a little bit further down onto the VI plate. You'll see it has the gross vehicle weight and it has a train weight. It also has the axle weights. The axle weights on this particular vehicle, because it's an 18-ton vehicle, the front axle weight will be 7.1 tons, the rear axle weight will be 11.5 tons. So this front axle takes 7 tons, the rear axle will take 11.5. When checking that the rear axle is not overloaded, an easy visual check is here at the rear axle where the wheel arch may well be touching the tyre. Equally, the spray suppression may be touching the floor. In those situations, the rear axle is clearly overloaded. In there, down through there, right down to the floor, there should be a gap between the two. Okay. So far we've talked about the axle weights and looked at the spray suppression touching the floor. We've also got to consider that the load is evenly distributed across the load bed. So when we look at the vehicle from the front, shouldn't see it go and wobble to one side. Okay? It needs to be nice and level.
Question 2, security of your vehicle and its contents. You are responsible for your vehicle, so you should make every effort to reduce the risk of it being stolen. Avoid parking in a vulnerable area, especially at night. You should understand how the braking system works and be able to carry out physical checks to assess the correct operation and what to do in the event of a fault. You should know how to check all the wheels, tyres, spray suppression equipment on your vehicle and any trailer to ensure they are in a serviceable condition. Before moving any large vehicle, you should familiarise yourself with the physical dimensions and the clearances required for the vehicle and any restrictions that may apply. Also be aware of any overhangs or projections when driving. Every time you get into your vehicle, it is important to carry out a cockpit drill. Never start a journey with a defective warning device or when a warning light is on. You should be able to recognise the various types of fire extinguishers and know which fires they are intended to tackle. In certain cases, try to isolate the source of the fire.
When getting into an unfamiliar vehicle, it is important that you check the height of the vehicle. That's the running height of the vehicle. If it is over 3 meters in height, it should have a height marker somewhere in the cab. A cockpit drill is an important part prior to setting off on your journey, and this will include you understanding just exactly how the vehicle and the controls operate. So this will include making sure that the horn works, making sure that your seatbelt works, understanding where you can adjust the seat, where the gear change is, the handbrake, and making sure all the mirrors are adjusted correctly. Also make sure that the gauges work. All the things that go on around the steering wheel, the adjustment of it, are things that are controls that you need to know how they work, and you will be expected to demonstrate that on the test.
Question 3. The ability to prevent criminality and trafficking in illegal immigrants. You must be aware of security of your vehicle and its contents. When passing through customs or before crossing borders, drivers of lorries are responsible for anything that is carried on their vehicle. It is important that drivers know what to check for and how to check their vehicle to ensure that they are not committing any offences for the country that they intend to enter. You as the driver will normally be responsible for your vehicle. All-round physical checks are vital. Remember, you are responsible for carrying out the final vehicle checks.
When dealing with a question relating to drug trafficking and illegal immigrants, it's important to check around the whole of the vehicle. So we'll start at the front of the driver's door. We open up the door. We have a look at the cab area around the floor and the base of the seat. Okay? We then open up the side container, the locker, and make sure that there's nothing been put in the locker itself. Okay, once we've done that locker, we make sure that the locker is shut. We then climb using 3 points of contact into the cab, where we check around the cab and into various lockers that may well be in the cab itself. We look behind the seats and we're looking for anything that may well have been put and hidden in the vehicle. Once we've done it inside, we shut the lockers, we climb out, and the important thing to remember throughout this exercise is to ensure that the cab doors are locked and secure once we've finished. Okay? You need to bear in mind that you could be around the other side of the vehicle checking other elements of it, and somebody could come along and put something in your truck and you won't know about it. We come round to the front of the vehicle and make sure that nobody's put anything in the holes in the front of the vehicle. And again, we make sure that the front of the vehicle is secure. We then walk around to the next wheel arch. We make sure that nothing has been put in the wheel arch. We then open the door. And we do the same on the passenger side as we did with the driver's side earlier. We climb in, we check all the lockers, we check behind the seats to make sure that nobody's put anything and hidden it away. Open up the locker on this side as well. And make a check to make sure that there's nothing inside. Again, locking that down, and then we take the passenger door, shut that one, and lock it up. All throughout the whole exercise, it's important that the vehicle is locked. Moving on, as we walk down the side of the vehicle, make sure that the curtains aren't damaged. If we have any securing straps that go through the locking mechanism for the curtain, that should be secure. along the chassis rail. Look all the way down, and it's important that you look underneath the vehicle as well as the sides. We carry on a little bit further, we get to the rear wheel arch. Again, we look under the wheel arch, underneath, to make sure that nothing's been put there. Continuing down the truck, we get to the rear doors. Now, it's important at this stage that we open the doors up and we check inside the vehicle. There will be no need for you to physically climb into the vehicle, but you will need to demonstrate the fact that you are aware that people could be inside. Whilst we're at the rear of the vehicle, we're now going to walk away. It's important that we walk a good distance away and make sure that we make the examiner aware that we are checking that nobody is on the roof. Okay, we've looked as we've walked down the side of the vehicle underneath. Now we're making sure that above there is nobody sat on the roof. We then continue down the off side of the truck, checking all the places where potentially somebody could put something or climb onto. Again, looking at the rear axle and underneath the wings, along the underrider bars. Okay, making sure that nothing has been tied to the bars. When we get to the fuel tank, it's important that you pay attention to the filler cap for the diesel fuel and also the filler cap for the AdBlue. Okay, these are places again where somebody could take the cap off, secrete some drugs and then put the cap back on. At this point we're right back now at the driver's door. The whole vehicle is secure, so we've now checked the whole of the vehicle. Okay.
Question 4. The ability to assess emergency situations. You should know how to enter your vehicle safely. Before starting the engine, you should carry out a cockpit drill and take the appropriate action. It is essential when leaving your vehicle that you do so safely with due regard for your safety and that of other road users. Every year, 700 people die or are seriously injured falling from vehicles.
Emergency situations. You may be asked a question relating to a situation where you notice that there is a fire on the vehicle you are driving. Now, it's important for you to realise that you need to find a safe place to pull the vehicle up. When you do that, you must remember the basics and show the examiner your understanding. This particular question is best answered sat in the cab as I am now. Wind the window down so you're able to talk to the examiner. Okay? That way you can demonstrate all that you will need to do. The examiner will have told you that there may well be a fire on the vehicle. Okay? So you then explain the process, the fact that you're going to check the mirrors, put the signal on and bring the vehicle to a halt gently at the side of the road. Make sure that you apply the handbrake, that the vehicle is in neutral and you turn off the ignition. At this point you're going to leave the vehicle and it's important that you vacate it on the near side through the passenger's door. At this stage you will now be able to talk the examiner through the rest of the process and the rest of your answer. That being the fact that you're going to identify where the fault is, how you would deal with it, calling the emergency services and ensuring that if anybody was to come near the vehicle, you keep them well away. The examiner may also produce a diagram showing a series of fire extinguishers, and he will ask you to identify the fire extinguisher that is required for the type of fire that he's told you the vehicle has.
Question 5. Ability to prevent physical risk. It is important to keep your vehicle well maintained. Breaking down whilst on the road can have road safety implications and cause unnecessary congestion. Follow manufacturer's guidelines for service intervals. In addition to this, be aware of components wearing out or requiring replacement. This will prevent costly breakdowns. Ensuring that your daily walk-around checks are done will enable you to find any defects that could become a problem and cause the vehicle to break down or be driven illegally. The time taken to complete a thorough check will be less than it will be to require a replacement or repair at the side of the road.